Hi, everyone. Welcome to the branding awareness section of the BBB of Eastern North Carolina's Better Your Business Academy. My name is Maria Satira, and I'm so excited to be leading you through this portion of the Academy. And I hope you're ready for all the amazing things we're going to talk about. So let's jump right in. I am representing the Greenville Eastern North Carolina Alliance, which is an economic development organization in Greenville, North Carolina, and the Pitt County, North Carolina area. Again, my name is Maria Satira, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications here at the Greenville ENC Alliance. I've been here since October of last year. It's a brand new position in a brand new organization, so it's been a great opportunity. Prior to this position, I actually was a local news anchor at WNCT for about 7 years. And prior to that, I also worked at a station in Virginia for about 2 years. So lots of experience in news, branding, communications, and marketing. In addition, I am also a small business owner like many of you. I own a digital content creation agency called Maria Satira Media. And I also help my husband with his property management company, Bennett Properties LLC, also a proud BBB accredited business. So you might be wondering why economic development is focused on branding. Well, let me tell you, since we started, and I started in this specific position, and again, a brand new organization, branding was so important. Before I started interviewing for the position, I didn't realize that economic development is actually a profession of marketing. We are selling our area. So why we focus specifically on branding efforts and marketing really comes down to two reasons. We look at business attraction and we look at industry retention. So if we want to attract businesses from other communities and other areas all around the world, we have to market Greenville and Pitt County, right? So we do that through so many different techniques. Many of those we'll talk about in this presentation. But you have to think about it. If we weren't marketing our region, how would people know about us? So we went through a branding overhaul and really put together a beautiful brand. We're really proud of it and are really seeing great results as well. So industry retention, these are companies who are already based in Greenville and Pitt County. So we are, of course, supporting them in any expansion efforts that they have locally, but we also want them to know that they have a home in Greenville and Pitt County, and we will do whatever it takes to get them here. For instance, if they're looking to hire more employees or talent in whatever fields that they're in, we want to offer the marketing and resources to make Greenville and Pitt County a great place to live and work. So we'll do marketing on that end, more quality of life, so they can easily recruit new employees from different areas as well. So now that we kind of talked about our brand here at the Greenville ENC Alliance and why it's important for economic development, let's talk about your brand and what is important to you. And we have some statistics that I'm really excited to share because I think it really sheds some information on what you need to keep in mind as you develop your brand or maybe even reassess your brand. Authenticity for brand awareness. 86% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor when deciding what brands they like and what brands they're going to support. So your customers, clients, consumers, they want to know that you are a personable brand, that they can trust you. You will give transparency, that you are your authentic self, that, you know, if they're ordering from your website, they want to know that there's a person behind that website. You have great customer service. You have great client relations. So keep that in mind, that 86% of consumers feel that way. So very high statistic. Another high statistic is trust. 81% of consumers say that they need to be able to trust the brand to buy from them. So they're not trying it out just to try it out. 81% want to make sure that you're already a trustworthy brand. Some ways that you can make sure that you appear trustworthy and that your brand appears trustworthy. Well, you're already in it. The BBB, a great reputation, and you can be part of that through BBB accreditation. So if you're a BBB accredited business, the BBB stands for trust. That is a global signature brand for the BBB, and you having that also enables you to get that trust mentality out there. Another way, if you do this in your marketing materials, consider offering some sort of guarantee, like customer satisfaction guaranteed, or will give you your money back, or we will guarantee a service that will last for 6 months. Or if it doesn't, we will come do that service again. Whatever it may be, customers feel like they can trust a brand if they know it's backed up with some sort of guarantee. And transparency for brand awareness, I think, is also really important. I think it's important, and 66% of consumers also think that transparency is one of the most important qualities of a brand. So if you're looking for ways to maybe be transparent, it's kind of a big umbrella term, right? A lot of different things can fall under it. Well, if you have a website, maybe consider listing your service costs on your website so there's no surprises. And then if you have any monthly fees associated with your service, list any type of fees or memberships or scheduling of payment all up front. And there's other ways that you can be transparent as well that we'll kind of talk about throughout this. But really, you're going to come back to these authentic, trust, and transparency. We're going to come back to these terms throughout this presentation. So keep that in your mind and think about how your brand can utilize those terms. So now we're going to assess your brand, and we want to make sure that the brand that you have currently or the brand that you want to create best represents your company, your services, your offerings, whatever it may be. We want it to work together. So here are 3 components of a brand. There's many more components, but we only have 45 minutes to an hour today. So we are just going to focus on these 3, which I think are really important. And a lot of people think brand, okay, well, I have a logo. I put our logo on a t-shirt in the color of our company's logo. So is that a brand? It is a brand, but there's so much more to branding than just that. So we have your company brand, we have your digital brand, and we also have your community brand. So we're going to talk about each of these and the different factors that play into them. When we talk about your company brand, this really is your overall visual brand. So you're going to think of your logo and a glyph, your font and your typeface, your color scheme, and the style and feel of really what it looks like overall. So this will be a consistent message and consistent look and feel of your platforms, your promotional items, any signage you may have, including maybe vehicle wraps or storefront signs, advertisements, billboards, marketing materials that you may have available, like a brochure or collateral that you leave with someone, even your business cards. So you'll want your brand to be very specific and make sure that the same brand is everywhere. You want consistency. So we're going to talk about logos. I'm sure you are all very familiar with this logo here on the right side of your screen, right? It's Nike. And I bet that if you covered up the top and middle version of that Nike logo, you're still going to see that little check mark, the swoosh. You're still going to know that that's Nike, right? Because they have such a distinct brand and a logo. So a logo obviously is allowing your company to be identifiable. And a glyph is the smaller icon of your logo or mark. So the little check mark that stands by itself, that's considered a glyph. Also, this is considered a responsive logo. So it's a style that has a full version, a mid version, and then a small glyph version. Some companies have maybe 6 versions of a responsive logo. Others maybe just have 2. But definitely you want a logo and then a glyph of your logo or a smaller mark or icon. Your font is equally as important, right? So there are at least 500,000 fonts in existence right now. More are being added every day because people are creating them. Graphic designers, there are also font designers, typeface designers. There's all kinds of professionals out there that create these types of fonts. So if you have the time and happen to look through all 500,000 different fonts and you still don't find something you like, you could hire someone to create one for you. So there's endless, literally endless options with font. And then the typeface of a font is also important, whether your font is bold, extra bold, if it's just the regular font, the light italic, or if it's condensed and your words are kind of squished together, or extended and your words are separated more with more space in between each letter. That all comes down to typeface and what it looks like. Colors. Colors are so important when talking about branding. Now, let's talk sports, right? So a color palette in sports is super important. So if I say purple and gold, especially in Eastern North Carolina, you're going to think of the ECU Pirates, right? I'm from Pittsburgh, so if I see black and gold, I'm going to think of my Pittsburgh Steelers, the Penguins, the Pittsburgh Pirates. For any Carolina Panthers fans, what happens if you see the color Carolina blue and black and silver mixed into it? Well, you're probably going to think of the Carolina Panthers. So a signature color is can really represent your brand. Right here, another statistic. A signature color can increase brand recognition by up to 80%. Think of some brands that you just see a color and you kind of think of them. To me, I see yellow, a yellow M, I'm going to think of McDonald's instantly. If I see something red, like Chick-fil-A, red is their color. I don't know that they even really have a secondary or third color, aside from maybe white and black to use for text and font. But for the most part, those companies really use those specific colors. And then here's some other examples: PayPal, MasterCard, and BP. Each of these color palettes are very colorful. At the same time, they have really unique tones to them. And when you put them all together, you know, you may not think of these colors separately as PayPal or separately as MasterCard or separately as BP, but the colors make up their logo and their brand. Other materials are going to be these same colors. So if you look to the far right, you're going to see a little code. It looks like a number symbol, and then let's say the red in the MasterCard, EB001B. Okay, so what the heck does that mean, right? Well, that is a hex code. So colors, once they are created and put together as part of your brand, your logo designer would do this for you, or you could pick out your own color, but you're going to pick it based on this color. And if you move it up a little bit, let's say EB004B, that's going to be a different color red than what's right there. And that's considered a hex code. There's also Pantone colors, CMYK, and RGB. Usually every color will have at least the bottom three, the CMYK, the RGB, and hex codes. Not every color is a Pantone color, but you know, there are definitely plenty of those to choose from as well. So the last really big component of your company brand is the overall style and feel. You know, what kind of photos do you use? What types of videos do you post? Are your graphics consistent? Do those look the same? Do they have the same style and feel? Look and feel, another, you know, term that you could associate with this. Iconography is also a really popular thing right now. It's I use some icons at the beginning of the PowerPoint slide. You may have remembered one was a little briefcase under industry attraction, and the other was like a building icon under industry retention. So if you notice those, that's part of iconography, which is something our brand has here at the Greenville ENC Alliance. We have about 20 different icons that were specifically created for our marketing and branding use. So a lot of icons represent the workforce. I'll show you some other ones in a few more slides, but just to give you an idea that iconography is really new and popular right now. So if your company would consider something like that, those icons could be used on your marketing material, on your website, which we'll also talk about. So it's not just limited to one medium. You can use them everywhere and they would be yours. The feel is also just as important as the style. So we want to make sure that there is consistency in your overall brand and your customers notice that and they feel that when they look at your materials. How do they feel when they look at this? On this photo right here on the right, it says brand guidelines. Okay, so how do you feel? The color's blue, you know, I think it's very stylish. I think it's professional, it's sophisticated, maybe a little casual, but not formal. So maybe like business, let's call it business casual, right? So we want to be aware of how our brand makes our audience feel. 4 examples right here at the bottom of your screen. I wrote out style and feel in 4 different ways, just playing around with some characters and capitalization, and it's all in the same font. It's all of the same size, but just based on how capitalization is used, and if we're using and written out or like a plus sign or the and sign, how that is making us feel specifically about those phrases. So let's kind of talk about those, because I think that's a really unique aspect of what you can do with font. So the first one, style and feel, it's probably how it should be written if I was making a PowerPoint. So it's very professional. I would say it's very formal. So the second one, style and feel, with a capital S, capital F, and the and sign, I would say that's pretty sophisticated. I could see that as a maybe the name of a boutique and written out in like higher end clothes or furniture. Style and feel with a plus sign and all lowercase. I would say that's kind of modern, a little bit trendy. So in your worksheet, you'll also be able to kind of write out what you think your feel is, or what you want your feel to be, and if your brand represents that feel. And then the last one, style and feel, it's kind of authoritative. It's tough. So maybe like a construction company or something like that might have that last logo, or not logo, will have that last, font style. But it's just a good little example of how the feel, just of how you capitalize and what kind of characters you use, has a big impact on your brand. I want to pause here for a minute to show you what our brand book looks like. So really this captivates what our style and feel and logo use and type and font and even colors look like as part of a brand book that our logo designer put together for us. So if you work with a designer, they can create something like this for your organization and your company that explains who you are, what your brand mark is, and your brand elements. There a mission, a vision statement, a voice. It goes into logo usage, your primary logo, the inspiration of it, how you can use it, and the minimum clear space. It gets very detailed. It also shows incorrect usage. So you can send this entire book, like I have done, to printing companies, anyone who requests for our logo to use in their marketing materials for whatever reason. I give them this so they know that they can't make changes to our logo. They can't remove the elements. They can't change the colors. They can't stretch it out. They can't add a shadow, and they can't tilt it or stack the logo. Here's our fonts, Graycliff and Mukta. We purchased these fonts, and they were used in our logo, and we also use them in something as simple as a memo or a Word document that we convert to a PDF. And here's our color palette. Again, this is a really important aspect of your brand. So here are our colors, and all the information that comes with them as far as their color codes. And then here's the icons that we talked about. Here are some of them. We had additional ones created as well, but here are some and how we can use them in our marketing material. To better talk about what goes into your visual brand for your company, I've brought in the expert in all things graphic design. He's my brother, Mike Satira. He is a graphic designer at a Fortune 500 company and knows the ins and outs of all things visual design and branding. So, hey, Mike, thanks for doing this and being our guest speaker as part of this presentation. I figured it would be better to bring you in, who is really well known in this industry and in this world when it comes to branding and development and all types of visual elements. So I guess the first question is, what should the first step be for a company when they want to reassess or redesign their current brand, or maybe create one if they don't have one?
Hi, Maria. Thanks for having me. So you need to look at if your brand's ownable. Like, you don't want to have a logo that somebody can, a stock logo that you can Google search. that's where a graphic designer comes in. They look at your company, look at competitors, set you apart from your competitors. And if your brand and logo aren't ownable, um, then you really don't have a brand. And your designer, if you choose to, brand your company, your designer is going to carefully craft your brand for your company and business's needs, your vision, your mission. So that's where your brand comes together.
Awesome. So a company that already has a brand, how often should they maybe look at their brand and change it? I know it's not ideal to do something every few years, but if it's really outdated, how often should they look at this?
I mean, trends change. There are trends for everything, trends for clothing, trends for you know, uh, art and creative out there. So if you look at Starbucks, they've always, since 19 whatever 50, they've always had this mermaid. Um, it looks completely different now than it did, but that main mermaid is still in their logo. So there's a difference between there's a difference between rebranding and a brand refresh. So if you're rebranding, then that means your vision and the first time you looked at your brand, it was wrong, and you're changing your brand, your vision, your mission. Whereas a brand refresh is just, updating, maybe a vibrant blue to be more calming. Maybe your mission and vision didn't change, but your company and business still wants to stay relevant. And updates are good. Updates aren't a bad thing. Um, but yeah, rebrand would be completely redoing your brand, your logo, having a completely different look and feel, whereas a refresh is simply updating. And updating could be every 5 years, maybe a brand refresh, 5 years. And again, that could just be adjusting your logo mark, your icon. It could be rounding out the corners of your typeface. It could be picking a new font, but not drastically changing the look and feel.
So once you have a strong brand established, you probably don't ever want to have to go through a whole new rebrand, because the concept is that your brand really tests the time. So like if you think of like Apple and McDonald's and Nike, like they've never really changed their brand necessarily, maybe just have made updates.
Right, definitely. And looking at, the Nikes, there's equity in that swoosh. Going back to your first question, is your brand ownable? It's like, that swoosh is Nike's ownable mark. What was the other example you just said? I mean, I'll go to Starbucks. It's the mermaid is the ownable mark, along with, their green. But yeah.
Awesome. So, what goes into choosing brand elements? I kind of talked about a lot of different options in the presentation, but I mean, as a designer, in your opinion, what are the most important things that go into that?
Yeah, so brand elements, I mean, start with a logo. That is probably the most important part of your brand, but in that logo is your color, and your color palette is really what brings the look and feel of your business. So I would argue maybe color is the most important, but there's also your brand typeface, which is, people don't really look at it, but if you're using, in Microsoft Words, Times New Roman for everything, it's going to look generic. Going back to, is your brand ownable? Using a system font that's on everybody's computer, like Times New Roman or Calibri if you're on a Mac, there's no personality to it. It looks generic to the naked eye. So really picking a typeface that matches your logo, your brand, picking the color, and there's psychology behind colors, right? I mean, green means growth, environmentally friendly, healthy. Blues are like trust, and you could go deeper and deeper, but it's not about. The biggest thing I see is when people are looking for a logo or brand elements, they pick colors that they just like. And your brand shouldn't be an opinion. It should be your goals and your mission, not just like what you like. But there's photography styles. If you're, I do a lot of retail facing things, so it's like photography for your product. There's a style to that. There's a style to your illustrations. If you're using illustrations, a style to iconography. Um, it's really the brand element package that brings your brand to life, along with, and again, back to the colors, looking at T-Mobile, you see this magenta. Honestly, I can't even picture their logo, but you don't need to, because you see this magenta color and you're like, oh, that's T-Mobile. Looking back at the retail side, if you see a shoebox that's bright orange, you know, you don't need to see the Nike logo on that shoebox. You see a bright orange box and you associate that with Nike. So those big companies do a great job of repetition and consistency in their colors and brand elements.
And that brings me perfectly into the last question I have for you, because really this whole presentation is pushing consistency and encouraging that. So in your opinion, why is consistency really so important for a brand?
I mean, consistency and repetition bring equity to your marks, to your colors, to your brand elements, to your logo. The more people see it, the more people associate that mark, that color with your company, and they'll be familiar with your company overall. So, I mean, again, to just, you know, seeing the big yellow M on the highway, like it's McDonald's, but if you saw that M in black, you'd be like, that's not McDonald's. So yeah, consistency and repetition is very important with branding.
Mike, thank you very much. I appreciated hearing from you, and I hope all of the attendees did as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Maria.
All right, now let's move into digital brand. This is my favorite type of branding, just because I think online presence is absolutely necessary. This type of branding is basically your overall online presence. It should be consistent on all your platforms. Again, this specifically focusing on the voice and tone with some related imagery and graphics. So under digital, we're going to talk about your website, your social media, blogs, and any email communication that you send out in the form of an e-newsletter. So again, there are so many other different topics that we could talk about under digital, but we're going to focus on these 4 today. To start off, your website. This is the most important marketing tool. I think if you go to register your company in whatever format, you need to also create a website at the very same time. In my opinion, I do not trust a brand if they do not have a website. So I think this is really 100% necessary. It is the single most important marketing tool. Another interesting fact that statistic rather, it only takes half a second for someone to form an opinion about your website. So if you have a website, that's great. But is your website attractive? Is it giving the message it needs to? Are you putting the information that you need to have on your website that's going to be helpful for your audience? And then, you know, in this day and age, we're not just looking at websites on our computers, we're on our tablets, we are on our smartphones, iPhones. Different types of phones have different types of compatibility as well. So you want to make sure your website is friendly for all of those platforms. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. So just using keywords on your website that define your brand will increase the likeliness of your website being found. You know, do you ever click on the second page of your Google results? I don't. There's a joke that people have said, you know, where's the best place to hide a dead body? The second page of Google results, because no one ever clicks on the second page. I know I don't. So if I type in economic development, Greenville, North Carolina, I want my website, the Greenville ENC Alliance, to pop up first. So how we do that to ensure this on our website without paying for anything extra. You can pay for Google ads. You can pay for someone to go in and, you know, purchase ads on your behalf or sponsor your posts. SEO can be free for you to do yourself. So on our website, we make sure that we hit all the keywords: economic development, industry attraction, incentives, taxes, business relocation, expansion, any of those types of keywords that are important for our business specifically are what we use on our website, throughout our website, on multiple pages, not just on your homepage. You want it really scattered throughout your pages. That way your website is attractive to search engines. Social media, oh my goodness. So when you post on social media, if you have company pages, you want to post with intention and relevance. Do not post just to post, because your audience will catch on to that. You want to have, a great following and engagement. So you want quality over quantity. I don't care if you have 100 followers or 100,000 followers. If you're only getting a few likes from those 100,000 followers, what's the point of having them? You want to create a community through your social media platforms. So in your worksheet, I ask you to kind of assess what platforms you're on, and be honest. You don't need to be on every platform. If you update Facebook every day and you post on Instagram once a week, but you never post on your Twitter account, why do you have Twitter? Just delete it. If you're not using it, you don't need it. So I would say Facebook and Instagram are usually the most important when it comes time to, post often. So when you decide to post, you need to keep a consistent schedule. 79% of people say that content consistency impacts their purchasing decisions. So when you post, what is like the feel of your photos or your imagery that you use? Are they stock photos? I don't know. This is an example of a stock photo on this slide right here. I didn't take that photo. It was available to me for free through through Canva, which I subscribe to the pro version, and they allow me to tap into their stock photo gallery. It's great if you like stock imagery. For something like this, yes, stock imagery is perfect. However, if I was giving a presentation specifically about the Greenville ENC Alliance, I would use photos that I generated in-house organically. So keep that in mind. Maybe even consider posting, if you do a graphic or something, keep your graphics the same. Use a template that incorporates your colors, your fonts, and your logo. I would say if you post on social media, to always put your logo or your glyph in a corner somewhere. That way people know that, hey, this was created intentionally and thought was put into this. Even if you are using stock imagery, add your logo. It really will go farther than you think it will. And then when you post on social media, we want to see what's going to work and what's not going to work. And that's where tracking metrics comes in. You want to review your reports and your insights. You can do this through Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. They have a really great tools to track your insights. It's a very easy to use, and you can see your engagement go up, down, the increase of your followers, what times of day that they are using your social platform, and what time of day they're visiting your pages as well. So whenever you see a really great performing post, make a note, make a list of, what was part of that post. Was it a photo that we took on a job site? Was it, a new line of clothing that we got into our boutique? Was it a selfie of our, our staff working at the, whatever it may be? Take note of what is doing well and how it is performing well. That way you can, kind of replicate that. How can you use that information to make your next post better? And that can also be down to the time of the day and maybe even the day of the week that you're posting. If your audience is most active on Wednesdays at 9 a.m., well, guess what? Every post you share, you should at least share one a week on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Blogs and email. So not every company needs to have these available to their audience. However, it is a really great way to amplify your digital blog or your digital brand awareness. So for blogs, you want to include your keywords that we kind of talked about earlier that were on your website. We want to make sure they're in our blogs as well. And blogs are essentially maybe 500 words to 1,000 words. And it's just like an article written about either your company, your services, or how you are attributing to the community. And they're great ways to increase SEO. It's a great way to tell your clients or your customers what you're doing in the community. And you can just showcase your expertise. Another option of blogging, if you don't necessarily just want to post all of these on your website, you can consider a blog share with other companies. So I'm trying to think of a good example for this. Let's say, okay, so my husband is a real estate agent. Let's say that as a real estate agent, he is blogging about the importance of getting your home inspected for pest control. Let's say that. And I'm only saying that because that's actually what he's doing today. He's having one of his clients' homes inspected for any insect damage. Okay, so let's say that he wants to write a blog about the importance of that. Okay, so he's going to contact the pest control company that he always uses and say, hey, I'm writing a blog about this. Would you mind posting this to your blog as well? And in exchange, I will post a blog that you write on my website to kind of do like a swap, a blog share, a blog swap with a related company can go a long way. So, the pest control company is getting information from a realtor. And then the real estate company is getting information from pest control, and you're going to kind of share sources. The people who might come to your website are going to see this other company's information and their expertise about a topic that's related, but they're the experts in it and they're just kind of sharing it. So that's a great way of really getting new audience attraction and getting more people to your website. So if you have an email list or an e-newsletter that you send out, you want to make sure your brand is consistent in that as well. So build your email subscriber list, consider how you're doing that and if it's effective. Look at your open rates. Are people opening your emails that you're sending? If they're not, maybe consider deleting them off your list. If they haven't opened an email in 2 years, their not opening is hurting your overall rate and your performance. So I would delete them out of your email newsletter list if they're not participating. And then you want to make sure that these newsletters have content that your subscribers want to know. Moving right on into community brand. This is the last type of brand that we're going to talk about today. This type of brand really defines your company's overall recognition in the community. Of course, it's called community branding. Big surprise there. Well, this type of branding should be consistent in various aspects, such as how you're marketing and really to whom you're marketing. So, we're going to talk about your audience and how you market to them and how your brand impacts them, and also how your employees have a role in your branding as well. We'll talk about voice and tone. We'll talk about your reputation. And lastly, we'll discuss philanthropy and how that also has a part in your community brand. So your audience, who is your target audience? Every company, no matter your service, your product, your industry, whatever it is, you have a target audience and it needs to be written down. Oftentimes this will be part of your business plan. And you really have to consider who is your key person. Your brand is for them. You're selling to them. So as part of that, you want to create content specifically for them. One fun, easy way to do this is creating branding personas. So you can create someone like Casual Carly. You want to pick how old is Carly? What are her hobbies? What's her family like? Where does she live? What is her income? Based on who Carly is, that's who that persona is and how is your brand directly associated to them. So I use Professional Pam quite a bit. Professional Pam is an attorney in her 30s. She is not married. She has no kids. She is starting to invest in real estate property. She has money to spend and she's interested in spending it wisely. So, Pam and Carly may be a mom in her 40s with 3 kids who works a part-time job, but is very money conscious and wants to make sure that her purchases are going to go a long way. So, those are 2 very different people. However, they will be marketed to based on your product or your service or whatever you're trying to market to them, essentially. So create a brand persona of your target audience. Your employees also represent your brand. They can be representing your brand on the clock or off the clock. So I think a great example of this is, it really comes down to how they drive, what they wear, and how they act. Let's say you have a branded vehicle with your logo wrapped all over it, and your employee drives that on the clock or off the clock, and they are flying down an interstate, is that going to represent your brand really well at all? Probably not. Also consider, what they're wearing, and maybe if, something happens and they respond positively or negatively, what if they're wearing your company logo, they're representing your brand. Voice and tone. I think this is so important to talk about. Okay, I think all of this is important to talk about, but voice and tone really have a powerful impact. Words are so powerful, and your voice and your tone in those words really says a lot about your company. So you want to assess how your company communicates and how you and your employees speak to others. This could be how you write your content on your website, or how you record your message on your company's voicemail system. So you want to pick a pronoun usage, and I have some examples of this in the worksheet that you'll work through. So I want you to decide, is your company's voice first person? If so, is it singular or is it plural? Or maybe it's third person. And I give some examples of those as well. So whatever it is, you want to stick with that and be consistent through it. And then your tone is also really important too. It has to work along with your voice. And you want to have your voices, the tone of your voice as something that represents your brand. So are you funny? Are you formal, friendly, serious, casual, matter of fact, professional, maybe enthusiastic? So what is your company's brand? I think most companies would like to appear to be friendly. So you have to make sure that your content appears that way, and the text that you write on your website or put on social media or in your marketing brochures, all that has to have the same tone and style. Reputation. So all of you as part of the Better Your Business Academy are obviously interested in a positive reputation, and the BBB has a great resource for that. Asking your customers or clients to give you a positive rating on the BBB's website, to review you through testimonials, that's going to increase your community reputation. So you want your brand to be part of that. And in order to kind of generate that, it doesn't hurt to ask for reviews and testimonials. For instance, maybe after you've had a client order from you, you send out another email, or, ask them in person. Or I've seen little business cards as well that says, share your experience on Google or Yelp or wherever you collect your reviews. That way, they say, oh, yes, I would love to share my positive experience with this company for others, so they know they can trust you as well. So that's a great and easy way to put together your community reputation. Philanthropy is something I think a lot of people don't think about, but the nonprofit causes and fundraisers that you support can also be part of your brand. So let's say you're a doctor's office. It would make sense for your office to sponsor a fundraiser that is health related. Maybe you are a family care office and you are really big on prevention. So maybe you want to sponsor a walk for cancer prevention efforts or something like that. Speaking of that, you could say a gym or fitness facility, relatable cause that they would support. Maybe it's sponsoring a 5K that's happening in town. Or lastly, I'm a big dog lover. I'm on the board at the Humane Society of Eastern Carolina. So when we go around and solicit businesses to sponsor events, we also, look at the businesses that are pet care related. So, if it's a dog boarding facility or a dog training facility, they may have interest in supporting an animal-based nonprofit. Okay, let's say you have a business that doesn't necessarily have a nonprofit that directly correlates. Guess what? You can support from passion too. My husband and I support many causes that do not relate to our businesses, but they have a personal passion. My mom's a breast cancer survivor, so I, donate and participate in the breast cancer walk in Greenville every year. So different things, but you can also have that tie into your business and say, it's a business donation because my entire business supports this, because our owner has a personal tie to it. And this is great to advertise to your consumers. It may seem self-serving, but 77% of consumers buy from brands who share similar values. So if your customer likes to know that you're doing good for the community, then you should tell them. And that's what they want to know. We've talked about a lot so far, so let's put it all together. Benefits of your brand and how these benefits will increase your visibility in your community, in your target audience, through your target market, or wherever you want your brand to be visible. You will achieve credibility. People will trust you more. You'll be more trustworthy. You will have more authenticity. You know, that is going to go up. You will also likely increase revenue. If you have a strong online and digital presence, people will see that. They may like your Facebook page. They may, you know, subscribe to your emails. And if you're offering them, you know, specials or a new service or giving them that information, they may jump on it. So you're going to see some ROI because of that. And lastly, you know, I think it's just important to know that the more people you talk to and share your brand and make it more available to any audience, whether they're your target or not, that will increase awareness of your brand. You know, I may not be in the market for the latest gym equipment for my home gym because I don't have a home gym, but I might not be in the market for that. However, I might tell my brother about it, who has a huge gym in his garage. So, you know, just because I'm not your target audience, that doesn't mean I don't know someone who is, and I can share that information with them. Here are your key takeaways. These are 4 things that you can do within the next few weeks or even the next few months to better your brand, better your user experience for your audience and your ideal customer, and better your overall business. So take some time and update your marketing strategy. If you don't have a marketing strategy, well, take the time to create one. This is really important. And this is something that you can reflect on, you know, once a quarter. I reflect on mine here at the Greenville ENC Alliance once a month. I want to make sure that the marketing goals that we set last year are still on task and still being achieved and in progress. And different companies may have different ideas of marketing strategies and how often they should revisit. But, you know, if you're just starting out, I would say revisit at least once a quarter and make sure that you're on task and on brand. Also assess your current branding. Are you happy with your logo? Are you happy with, you know, your website? Are you happy with how you're posting to social media? Look at that. Look at your metrics, see what's working and see what's not. And if it's not working, do some research and consider an overhaul or some adjustments, maybe minor adjustments, maybe, you know, a whole new website redesign. It's your business and your business needs to represent the brand that you want it to represent. Implement overall consistency. This is really important. You know, if you have your color scheme, make sure that your color scheme and palette is consistent everywhere. It should be on your business card. It should be on your social media. It should be on your website. It should be on your collateral. Wherever your brand is, it needs to be consistent. So make sure that that's happening as well. And lastly, create key message statements. In your worksheet, I have a space for you to write 5 key message statements. So these are messages that will appear on your website. They'll appear in your social media. Oftentimes they'll contain those keywords that are big for your business and in your industry that will, you know, be on your website to generate SEO. So these key message statements really should be no longer than 4 to 5 words, maybe a full sentence. You know, one of ours that we use here at the Alliance, a key message statement is new investment meets opportunity, or we're green, all right. You know, these types of messages help our audience know what we're marketing and what makes our area unique compared to others. You can do the same type in your business. Creating these message statements are, you know, sometimes not even a full sentence, but just a few words can be so powerful and meaningful. As we end the branding awareness presentation, I just want to say thank you. I really had a wonderful time sharing this information with you, and I hope that you got something from it and are able to create some goals for your business or your organization and your company. Please let me know if there's any way that I can help in the future, or just to bounce an idea off of. I am happy to do that. I'm also looking forward to the Q&A opportunity through virtual conference coming up as well. So feel free to write some questions down. I am looking forward to talking with you and meeting all of you. Good luck during the rest of the Better Your Business Academy.